And welcome back to the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. So many boat companies fell a little bit behind in production due to the COVID mess that new models have been kind of slow to roll in, but they are coming in now at Madisonville Marine. You can see them firsthand by traveling down to Highway 411 North in Madisonville. You'll be impressed by not only what they have in their showroom, but you'll also be impressed by the people you meet down there. Their customer service is second to none, and that's what I always hear from people who come back and say, hey, I went to them because you said so, and the people, that's what they always comment on, the people. Madisonville Marine, madmarine.com to learn more. But if you do madmarine.com, you don't meet the people. Get down there and see them, Highway 411 North in Madisonville. Okay, on Friday, the SEC finally, we've been waiting for this, they finally came out and they followed the Big 12's lead, and they announced minimum requirements for the roster regarding COVID. Now, if you think minimum requirements is the minimum requirement to play, no, that's not what they mean by that. It's minimum requirement to beg out. And here's what I mean. The SEC says that 53 scholarship players have to be available on game day, all right, 53, including 1 quarterback, 7 offensive linemen, 4 defensive linemen. Okay. If you don't have that, then you can ask for a game to be rescheduled. They may have to declare a no contest, but you have to have those to be able to ask for that. It's not a minimum requirement to play because you can have below those numbers and still say, no, we want to play. So the idea is this was to protect players from having to go, no, not really. It's not what it's doing. But one interesting thing that I thought stood out, the Big 12 made their list. You had to have 53 players, and that included walk-ons. The SEC has said scholarships. You have to have 53 scholarship players. I would be surprised if anybody ever fell below that, but it's possible. I mean, you had Tennessee with 48 guys over the course of their camp out at one time or another. It is possible. At any rate, your thoughts on the SEC finally coming out and putting out this list. You good with it?
Do you keep some scholarships handy, by the way, to hand out
That's right.
to a couple of walk-ons if you run into it? I'm overall good with it. I still hope, based on what we heard during the summer and the preseason, if you run into a really risky situation with numbers, that schools will make the right decisions. And we shouldn't be surprised if it happens. We've seen it with the other conferences where games have just been postponed. The day before happened again on Friday with a couple of games. So my expectation would be that schools will still make the right decisions they believe for the players.
Yeah, I think it's probably reasonable, and that number's probably because the NFL does it, so they copied that a little bit. What I do find interesting is that what if the virus hits your DB room and you only have 1 defensive back available? They don't care about them. They don't care about receivers. Yeah, you don't have a receiver, so what? I thought it was kind of interesting, the breakdown, but I think that they needed to come out with numbers. I'm okay with them. I also wonder this. I wonder which teams are going to opt out. My guess is that the teams that will opt out most, if given the chance, would be Vanderbilt and Arkansas.
What about when you look at it, the idea we still don't have anything from the SEC on tiebreakers? I think this one's still hanging out there. We were talking about it in between segments here.
Yes.
When you look at it, you've got a possibility of Kentucky going 6-0, but they get 4 no contests declared. Georgia goes 9-1. Now, in everything else the SEC does, tiebreaker is basically your winning percentage type thing. So we thinking Kentucky would go to Atlanta as the SEC East champion at 6-0 instead of a 9-1 Georgia?
No.
Well, let's make people angry. Let's say it's a 9-1 Tennessee. All right, and Georgia's 6-0. Does Georgia go over Tennessee? If they don't announce some sort of plan for tiebreakers now, you're going to run into a heck of a lot of trouble if you have one come November, December.
It's overdue. I mean, it ought to be out there before your first game, shouldn't it? I mean, shouldn't this be announced before your first game is played?
I got that Friday.
The tiebreaker should be for equal number of SEC wins. That whoever has the most wins, it shouldn't be 6-0 and 9-1. If you win 9 league games, then you've won more than anybody else in your division. But we'll see what they do.
Yeah, you need a descending order.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
if this is met, that's where we are, as they do now, but it would be a different situation because we're talking about number of games played being the rule.
Well, when we come back, let's get back on the Tennessee-South Carolina front. I want to ask, Which newcomer for the Vols is going to make the biggest impact in Columbia on Saturday? We'll discuss. Come on back on the Sports Source.